Hi, this is Bobby G, and this is Bobby G's Big Stone ATX, an inspirational podcast about love and reoccurring patterns that happen in our life. Today's guest is Kevin Burns. Kevin formed Urbanspace 25 years ago?
25 years ago.
Yeah, and Kevin has been one of those people who's responsible for changing our skyline and giving us the downtown that we have right now. Kevin, why don't you begin by telling us about some of the projects that you're involved in downtown, whether it's building or various community organizations that just really make Austin a better place.
Sure. So, I've been a part of quite a few different condo towers in downtown Austin. I can't take full credit, obviously. I mean, the great thing about downtown Austin is it's a community effort. It's a lot of great people doing a lot of great things, all coming together to create the fabric of downtown, right? It's not just residential housing or office buildings, but it's parks and community spaces and the theater, and there's so many great aspects of downtown Austin, and I think that's what has allowed me to thrive and my business to thrive in the downtown Austin marketplace. Mm-hmm. So, I got my start. I founded Urbanspace in 2000. Based upon my passion for urban living and mixed use real estate. Realizing that I really didn't like driving, and I like the idea of being in an environment where everything I needed or wanted I could walk to, right? And downtown Austin is a very compact and connected environment. We really haven't grown outside of the original 20 block by 20 block grid that was laid out by Waller in 1829.
Okay.
1829 or 1839. You can fact check me on that. So we're very compact, and in essence, that downtown grid has actually shrunk based upon the number of parks, historic buildings, quadrants of city, county, state, and federal buildings, the historic district. So we have a very small and confined area where we can actually create tremendous density, and that's allowed us to really have an environment that is compact and connected. So got into the sales of condo towers back in 2004. Was my first project. The Fairfield Residential, a group out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, was working on a project at 54 Rainey Street, and they had started construction. It was originally going to be an apartment complex, and one of the principals had a bright idea that it should be a condo project. And so they came to me, and we sat down and chat, and it was a 240 residence project. And they're like, Kev, what do you think? Can you sell it? And I'm like, if they're at the right price, absolutely. They're like, well, do you have any market data that will support selling 240 residences? And I'm like, absolutely not, because there hasn't been a project that large ever built in downtown Austin. But anecdotally, I know that there's always been more buyers than there were sellers for downtown residences. So they gave me a shot. They said, okay, if we can hit a certain threshold of reservations in a certain amount of time, then we'll go ahead and convert the project to condos. And we ended up putting the entire project not only under reservation, but under contract prior to the first residence delivering. Those residences delivered in 2006, and that really was a catalyst for the next generation of condo projects in downtown Austin. Mm-hmm. We were able to prove up that there was actually market demand for large projects, right? And that hadn't been the case prior. Prior to that, the largest project ever built in downtown, maybe Austin, for that matter, as far as number of residences in a condo project, was Towers of Town Lake. That was 178 residences, and that was built in the early 80s. Mm-hmm. And regretfully, that project actually failed miserably in the 80s. It's just too many units, too big of units, wrong location, wrong time, etc.
Yeah.
So that Malago catalyzed the development of the Shore, which is 192 residences, the Spring, which is 249 residences, the 360 condominiums, which was 430 residences, the Four Seasons, which is 147, the Austonian, which is a little over 170, the W, which is 159, and Sabine on 5th, which was 80 units. So it really kind of jump-started the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So after after Malago delivered kind of the next round of projects in downtown, we had close to 1,500 residences kind of all deliver in that 2009 to 2011 time range, right? That wasn't a very good time for the economy. I don't know if you guys remember the Great Recession.
Sure.
That's right. But believe it or not, they all delivered, and they were all successful projects. And it wasn't until 2013 before we had another project come to market in downtown. So we had quite a few projects that all came to market in 2007 and 8.
Okay.
Right, all those projects I just mentioned. And then in 2013, I went to the developer of Seaholm, and they'd waffled on what they were going to do. Originally, it was going to be a condo with hotel, then it was going to be an apartment complex. And I went to them, I'm like, hey, we have a huge demand for condos in downtown. There hasn't been a project that's launched since 2007. Really think that you guys should look into condos. And so they were building 305 apartments, and we were able to persuade the developer, and more importantly the equity, into building it as a condo project. And so we reduced the unit count to 274. We increased the balconies and the balcony sizes. We redid the finishes, the floor plans, the overall feel of the building, and launched that project. And we ended up putting the entire project on a reservation in 2.5 business days.
Oh my God.
Thursday, Friday, half a Monday. Maybe it was Friday, Saturday, half a Monday. Anyways, the point of the story is it's 2.5 business days. And then we converted 82% of those reservations to contracts. So it was extraordinarily successful. It was right time, right place, right price point. And that was the catalyst for the next big wave of condo projects, which was the Independent, 5th and West, Proper, and 70 Rainey Street. I had the opportunity to do the exclusive sales for the Independent, which was the largest of those 4 projects. It's a 363 residence, 58-story tower. At least on Wikipedia, it's still the tallest all-residential condo tower west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
I've personally been living there since it delivered in 2019, and love calling it home. I actually have
It's a beautiful building.
Yeah, it's a great project. I'm lucky enough to have my offices, my furniture store, and then the bar / coffee shop on the ground floor called the Codependent.
The Codependent, yeah.
So I pretty much, I think I have the best commute in town.
You certainly do.
Even when it's raining, I can take the service entrance from the service elevator to the back door of my office and never see rain. So that's been a great place to live. And I've realized over time that I started in the sales and marketing of real estate, then the sales, marketing, and design of condo projects. And over time, I started collecting the ground floor spaces of the projects that I was a part of. And every time I bought a ground floor retail space in downtown, I usually added another business. And, good idea, bad idea, that's still yet to be determined. I like to say, I don't say that I have wins and losses, I have wins and lessons. Right? Well, sometimes the lessons are bigger than others. Sometimes the lessons cost more and take more time. But over time, I added businesses to the spaces that I'd purchased. And so in 2008, I started a furniture store, actually with my ex-wife, and it was called Threshold originally. And there was a little store called Target that really wanted that brand, so I sold them the brand Threshold.
Nice. And
then rebranded Urbanspace Interiors, and ended up keeping that company in the divorce. It was a very financially unsuccessful business. It was a fun business, but financially it didn't really do much. So I bought her out of that, and I think that was kind of best for all parties. But I added an interior design component to the project.
I was going to ask you about that, because you can kind of do a turnkey if somebody's coming in from overseas, for instance. they can buy the condo, you can design the interior for them, you can set them up with the furniture, and they can show up with a couple family pictures, and they're all set.
That's correct. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so, started the furniture store, added an interior design component to it. And that was a pivotal moment for our organization, being able to have in-house design, right? Because that's allowed us to do more development, right? And we'll get to the development in a bit. So I started out doing smaller development projects, single-family houses, duplexes, smaller projects of that nature, but really driving the design. And then using our design team to help the developers that we were working with to design and create the floor plans and the projects that we had done the sales and marketing for. And we were designing the floor plans based upon the feedback and the experiences that I had shared with dealing with literally thousands of downtown buyers, right? So we pushed and pulled on floor plans for efficiency, for livability, truly how people live in a residence. And so that's kind of our secret weapon inside of Urbanspace, is that design aspect of it. So as time went on, picked up a few more ground floor spaces, and the next pillar of the organization that we created was hospitality. And so opened the Codependent Cocktails and Coffee on the ground floor of the Independent. And what I really realized was what I truly love doing is creating communities, right? I love designing and building great spaces to foster community, right? And even though the hospitality business isn't the most profitable business to be in, it sure is fun, and it's really, really great to see people coming together and exchanging ideas and helping each other out and meeting and growing and laughing. I was actually just in the Codependent before coming over here, and the place was packed, and there was lots of exchange of ideas. The music was great, and it just felt really, really good that that's something that we had created, where we built the space, we designed the space, we furnished the space, we branded the space, and now operate it as well.
It's got to be so nice for somebody new to town to move into the Independent and have something like the Codependent downstairs where they can feel that community and see their neighbors there and have a space to meet up with people when they're coming in from out of town and whatnot.
Absolutely.
I think that really is a beautiful thing that you've created.
I've found that buildings that have that kind of identity sell for a premium. So the Independent definitely saw a lift in value with the Codependent on the ground floor. The proper has always been a hot spot to live in because of the bar and restaurants that are inside of the building. Same with the Four Seasons, right? That extra touch of hospitality and sense of community is quite important. And that's why it's one of the reasons why people move into a urban environment, is to be able to participate in that community and to have that experience around them. So kind of as time went on, I'd always had a passion of building my own tower, right? So I helped developers do the sales and marketing for a number of projects, Malago, Seaholm, Independent, 44 East Ave, and I had this tract of land on Rainey Street that I bought, half of it back in 2006 and half of it in 2015. And I just had a couple bars on it, and I'd always had a dream and a vision of being able to put a tower there at some point in time. I always wanted to do my own tower.
Sure.
Versus reporting to others and them sometimes taking my ideas and using them and sometimes not. I wanted to be the one that drove the final decision. And I wanted to be the one that had my neck on the line, for good, better or worse. And so finally I built up the courage to move forward with developing the modern. And so in 2019, end of 2019, I hired Nelson Partners to help me design. At the time, it was actually going to be a hotel and apartments, because I was limited on space for parking, and I just thought that was going to be the right fit for the location. The Hotel Van Zandt across the street was putting out some of the best RevPAR numbers in Austin, and felt like there was demand for more. So I'd gone through site development permit process for about a year, and done quite a bit of design, and then I was just about ready to get my site development permit, and that was March 2020.
Hello, COVID.
And this little thing called COVID happened, and hotel numbers went through the floor. And I quickly recognized that there was no chance in hell that I was going to be able to get financing for a project of that size, where banks look at numbers in arrears, right? So by the time I would have actually gone for financing would have been beginning of 2021. And the numbers from 2020 I knew were going to be just abysmal. So I quickly pivoted and changed the project to a condo tower. It's probably the best decision I ever made. I have no idea why I was trying to do hotel or apartments. I wasn't best in class at either one of those, right? I didn't have a competitive advantage on either one of those, but I truly did with condos. And so I was able to redesign the project, take a lot of what we had done with the site development permit and evolve that into a condo project, and designed a project with 319 residences, ground floor retail that's going to be a really cool modern lobby bar, a little bit of office space on the 17th floor, and truly a landmark in downtown Austin at 56 stories. And so I got my financing for that end of 2021, launched my sales beginning of 2022, and arguably had, I would say, the best sales program of any other condo project ever in Austin. We put 98% of the project under contract by the end of the first week of March.
Nicely done.
Started construction in May, and here we are. What is this? January 2025, and we are ahead of schedule. We're looking to have a TCO by the end of February for the first phase of the building, and moving buyers in March, which is ahead of schedule. And it's a building that I'm very proud of. And I feel like I got very lucky with my timing on sales. I was able to spend a whole lot less on marketing than I forecast, and so I've rolled those dollars into elevating the building itself. Right? Have you heard of the concept of steak and sizzle?
Tell me.
So, in the world of sales, you have steak and sizzle. Steak is the product, right? And sizzle is all the flash around it to make the product look better than it might be, right? So marketing dollars are sizzle, and the actual building itself is the steak, right? And so since I was so lucky with my timing, I spent almost no money on the sizzle, and I spent all the money on just building a better steak, right? So because of the timing on that, and the financing structure that I had, and the fact that I owned the site pretty much outright, I was able to make a lot of decisions that a lot of other folks would have not made, as far as elevating the experience in every possible way that I could. I looked at it like I'm going to live in the building, and I sold to a lot of my friends and family and clients and customers that I've been doing business with for, in many cases, greater than a decade. And I realized that I'd rather, make a little less money and build an amazing building. Because if I do that, then I get to choose whether or not I'm going to build another building or not. If I build an inferior building and I cut corners, then the market's going to tell me whether or not I get to do the building again or not. And that's probably going to be a no, right? So really excited that I lucked out with the timing perspective, and I was able to really take the high road on all my decisions. And I'm going to be delivering a building that I believe, and I'm not just trying to toot my own horn or be a cocky developer, but I feel like I'm delivering the best building in downtown Austin here in a few months.
Super exciting.
And it's not just the building itself, it's the people that are moving into it. I mean, there are a lot of really great human beings that are moving into it. And I'm excited to help foster that community. You know, we're going to have the modern lobby bar on the ground floor, which is very similar to the Codependent. You know, it's going to be a place to come and hang out during the day and have coffee and do business and exchange ideas, to innovate and create and to capitalize on the opportunities there are in Austin, and at night to celebrate those successes.
I like it.
So we're really, really excited about that.
And how many units is in that building?
300. They're now 319.
Okay.
We started with 367. We combined a bunch of units over time.
Gotcha.
People realized that there was more of a demand for larger residences where families could move in, or young empty nesters could move in and have extra spaces for their kids to come home and visit. Or at least that was the hope.
Sure.
And so actually just that project's gone really, really well. And we have just a handful of residences left to sell. Reach out to me if you want to live in that premier building. But exciting enough, we actually just launched our next tower on 14th and Guadalupe, called the Luminary.
Okay.
And so that project's going to be a 35-story project with approximately 280 residences. And I'm working on that project with Northland Living. And Northland Living is being run by a guy by the name of Tony Khalil, who I met a decade ago. He brought Intracorp to town. And Intracorp was the developer of 44 East Ave, which was another successful project that we sold. And Tony, during COVID, branched off from Intracorp and worked out a deal with Tom Gallardi, who owns Northland, to run his development arm. And so we're building a project now that truly takes all of the best practices, all of the lessons learned from every project that I've worked on in the past, plus all the projects that he's worked on in the past. This is his 19th tower, right? And we're creating something really special for the citizens of Austin. So that launched last night. We had a really great sales center launch party, and we look forward to meeting with future homeowners over the course of the next few months and writing contracts and starting construction a little later this year.
That's exciting for up in that, so close to the university there.
It's a really cool location. It is it's a block or two away from the Capitol grounds,
Right.
which I believe is the cleanest, safest, nicest park in Austin, maybe Texas, right? You are a couple blocks away from our medical district. You're a couple blocks away from Waterloo Amphitheater and Waterloo Greenway. You're a couple blocks away from the Blanton Art Museum and the University of Texas, from the UT Stadium, from the new Moody Center, right? So, but it backs up to what feels like it is a historic district of what was once all single-family homes, and now it's a mixture of single-family homes that have been turned into offices and single-family homes that are still single-family homes. So it has this very nice pedestrian and human scale to it as you walk out the front door.
It's got a lot to offer.
It has a lot to offer. I'm very excited about it.
You should be.
Yeah.
And when will that be completed?
So, expectations on completion are 2028.
Okay.
So, but that's the very first condo tower in downtown Austin to launch marketing since 2025, right? I was doing some statistics for the Statesman and Austin Business Journal the other day, and once Modern delivers, we will have delivered about 2,200 condominiums in downtown over the course of a decade. 10 years. So in the course of 10 years, only 220 residences per year. In the same time, our MSA has grown over 600,000 people, right? So we have a real shortage of downtown living. And, if you look at it from a not only creating great community perspective, but making it a safer environment for everybody that comes to visit downtown. More eyes on the street. It allows for more restaurants and shops and bars and so on and so forth for everybody that comes to enjoy downtown. And, those are just more people that are not driving to work, right? If you think about it, high-rise living is about the most eco-conscious living you can have. The amount of water usage, the amount of resource usage per capita in a high-rise versus a house in the suburbs.
Sure.
It's a great benefit to our entire city. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, what I'd love to hear about are, I love hearing about downtown and all that's going on and the skyline changes. But tell me about, let's go to the foundation. Let's talk about the people that have come into your life that have showed you love and encouragement, and feel free to go back as far as grammar school or what have you, or tell me about some of the people that or a mixture of younger people and then people as you were coming up, either in the business or in school or just what have you.
Sure. Yeah. So I feel like I've been an entrepreneur since I was about 6. Right. I tried sports when I was really young, and let's just say I'm pretty klutzy and uncoordinated, and so I failed at just about every sport that I tried. But I didn't fail at the desire of being great at something, right? And so I resorted to being a young businessman. I started out at like 5, painting like mass production watercolors, and I lived in a historic district in Charleston, West Virginia. I lived on the longest block in the Americas, and on my block there was a high-rise assisted living facility. There was a high-rise. High-rises there were like 9 stories, so a little different than Austin. A high-rise condo project and a lot of density of homes. And so I'd go door to door, and I'd go to these buildings, and I'd sell my watercolors for just whatever the old ladies would pay me. This was a historic district, so most of the homes were built around 1900, 1910. And so this was the early 80s, and so I was dealing with these like 80 to 90-something-year-old, like widows. And they were all so nice to me. But I learned how to knock on doors at a very, very early age. And I realized that my clients were dying. Can't sell them any more watercolors. But when they would die, they had these big, grand, historic homes. And the families would come and take what they wanted, and then there would be an estate sale. And then after the estate sale, usually they would put everything on the street for the garbage man to come pick it up. And I'd go around with my little red wagon, and I'd pilfer through all their trash, and I'd find all the treasures. And I'd store said treasures in my basement, and I'd read the newspaper watching for another estate sale on my block. And when I'd see somebody advertising an estate sale on my block, I would bring all my treasures to the front porch, and I'd sell my wares. And I learned a lot of great lessons in negotiating.
I love that.
Because I never priced anything. I let people tell me what they thought it was worth. Because my COGS were zero, right? And I learned a lot of lessons on how people treat other people. Most people were very fair with offering me, what I assumed to be fair prices. But I still, to this day, remember a story about these 2 ladies that they found a hand mirror that I was selling, and they got really excited about it, and they offered me $4 for this hand mirror. And I said, sure, that sounds great. I had no idea. And then after they bought the hand mirror, after they gave me the $4, they're like, oh, by the way, that was ivory. And it was worth a whole heck of a lot more than that. And so I realized that most people are actually very, very fair with business. But you always have to, it's like trust but verify, right? And good for them that they found a deal. But from there, I went to mowing lawns, and that took me until I was about 10. And I was mowing lawns, and I was recycling aluminum cans. And I had this neighbor that moved in. Her grandmother died at 92, and she moved in from New York. She was like 28 years old, and like a 6-foot blonde from New York, with a Stanford MBA, and I fell in love. I was like 8 and she was like 28. And somehow, some way, like every Saturday morning, she would like make me croissants, and then we would get in her car and go around to her. She got all of her friends to save their aluminum cans, and we'd go pick up the cans and take them to the recycling center, and I'd make like $5. It was very exciting, and I always looked up to this young lady, Kit Forbes, who became Kit Welford, and I actually ended up selling her son a condo at Seaholm.
Really?
Yeah, she lives in West Virginia, right? They live in West
great.
Virginia, and here her son moved to Austin, Texas, and I've stayed in touch with Kit and her family ever since I left. But that was one of those people that I always looked up to and admired. And then
Yeah, I mean, she took time, and she
took a lot of time to help out this little, like I kind of got adopted, I felt like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I grew up. Like I literally spent a lot of my time just hanging out in my neighbors' homes. These, for the most part, these old ladies that had interesting stories to tell. And then as the old ladies died, young families moved into my neighborhood. So that was a really cool experience growing up. And so at 10, I was mowing lawns and
recycling.
And I met one of my customers had all of these catalogs in her house, and I'm like, "What are these catalogs?" And they're like, "It's Fuller Brush." I'm like, "Well, I know Fuller Brush. There's some Fuller Brush brooms and dust mops and things like that in our house that were left there when the old lady died that we bought the house from." And my dad had a Fuller Brush that was given to him by his grandmother when he was in high school. I'm like, "So I know Fuller Brush. This is cool stuff." She's like, "Yeah, it's like an 80-plus-year-old company, door-to-door sales. There's actually a movie called The Fuller Brush Man." I'm like, "Well, can I sell this?" And she's like, "No, you're too young." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Well, you're too young." I'm like, "I don't care. Let me sell it. Give me the catalogs." So I went door to door, and I realized that most people don't answer their door. But I was conveniently I lived a block from the Capitol grounds, and so I went office to office at the Capitol. And I actually got to see a lot of people, and I got more sales. I found that most of the people that worked for the state didn't make a lot of money. I had a lot of bounce checks. I had to hunt a lot of people down. So I went the other direction from my house to downtown. So here I am, 10 years old, going office to office in the high rises of downtown Charleston, West Virginia. And my lessons there were never talk to the receptionist. The receptionist's job was to kick my ass out, right? So I'd always find the big corner office. I'd just walk past the receptionist. I'd go find the big corner office. And I could do that because I was you were
a kid.
I was a shaggy-haired, 10-year-old kid. They just thought I was going to see Dad. And so I'd go and I'd pitch to the person in the corner office, and I'd let them know about the 80-plus-year-old product, the quality and the brushes, mops, brooms, household cleaning products, so on and so forth. I was saving money to be able to eventually buy a car, and they would see something in me that reminded them of themselves when they were younger, because usually if you make it to the big corner office, that you've been doing something for a long time. And I would ask for permission to sell to all of their employees. And so by the time I was 11, I was the #1 Fuller Brush man in the state of West Virginia. Right? And because I got to see so many more people than the average Fuller Brush man could see. I guess Fuller Brush person now. Got to be politically correct here. And I had 2 tiers of people selling below me. And so that was a cool deal. I did that until I was 13, and then my family moved to Houston, Texas, to the suburbs of Houston, Texas. And so I tried my Fuller Brush there, but I had no urban environment to sell into. And, they were big yards, big houses, and so there's a lot of walking between properties, and nobody had heard of Fuller Brush in the Houston area where I was trying to sell. So I hung up my hat as a Fuller Brush man, and I started a lawn business, and built that up through high school, and got into landscape design and landscape installation, and did that up until college.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean, the way I designed was I learned that my success came from buying right. Right? So as opposed to going to the retail nurseries, I went to the wholesale nurseries. And then I asked the wholesale nurseries where they got their plants from the growers. So I found the growers and I forged a relationship with the growers. And so every time that the plants changed hands, they basically doubled in price. And so by buying my product from the growers, I was able to pick up, purchase, design, and install for less than what a homeowner could go to the nursery to buy a plant for, right? And the way I did the design was I just kind of sketched something out on a piece of notebook paper and based upon what I knew I had access to, right? And so that was fun, but not scalable while I was going to the University of Texas in Austin and my business was in Houston. So I got my real estate license when I was 19, halfway between my sophomore, junior summer. And I was actually back home for the summer in Houston, sold a couple places with a real estate broker that I had maintained some of the listings lawns, like some of the properties that he had for sale. So sold a couple places that summer and then went and worked for a developer in Austin by the name of Barry Gillenwater. And worked for him for 3 years. And Barry was quite the character. Learned a tremendous amount from him, great human being. But I got to learn from a lot of his mistakes. So he built up a business with 900 people. He developed about 20,000 multifamily units, millions of square feet of office space. He did manufactured housing communities. He did kind of you name it. But it was extraordinarily successful, except for the fact that I don't think he knew when to say when. So Tax Reform Act of 1986 really bit him. And he lost almost everything. And so I met him and did work with him a decade later, after he rebounded. But he took the time to tell me the stories and to teach me the lessons of where he made the mistakes, right? You know, like when you're...
It's really cool.
It was really cool. Like when you're working on a project, don't ever put into your spreadsheet future sales prices or future rental rates that are higher than what it was in the past, right? Don't ever do that. And don't expect that you're going to build it in the future for less than what it cost in the past. Always expect that it's going to cost more and you're going to sell for less. And if the numbers still work, then proceed, right? If you can't, if it doesn't pencil on the back of an envelope, don't try and engineer it through Excel, right? And I took that lesson to heart. But while working with him, I realized I did a little bit of everything under the sun in the real estate world. And knowing that there are thousands and thousands of realtors out there, I knew if I was going to become great at what I did, I had to focus, right? I had to do what I love doing. And so I was always passionate about the urban core because I grew up in an environment where I was in the urban core. And so, you know, right after graduating UT, I got my broker's license and started Urbanspace based upon that passion for urban living.
Okay.
And I haven't looked back. I love what I do. I've been doing this now for, you know, I've owned the business for 25 years. I've been selling real estate now for 28 years. I realize I'm going to be involved in real estate for the rest of my life because I love doing it, right? It's not work. And that's always a nugget that I like to share with people when people are coming to me like, what should I do in my life? I'm like, make a list of all the things that you love doing and then cross-reference that list with what people will actually pay for, right? And then where you have a competitive advantage, right? And so finding the thing that you love doing, that people will pay you to do, and that you have a competitive advantage over your peers or your competitions, that's the magic.
Your sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot. Yeah, because if you love what you do, it's not work, which means that you can do it that much better. And you're being rewarded for what you do, whether it's via financial compensation or not, because you love what you do, right? So that's what allows me to do what I do. And the businesses that I've bolted on over time are because I love that aspect of it. Like it's weird when you look at kind of the at first glance, like, I don't understand how you've cobbled these different businesses together. But then when you dive a little deeper, you realize they're all connected based upon either working well with each other or they're things I'm passionate about. Like I have a yacht charter business. That's because I wanted to own a sailboat, right? And I needed to turn it into a business to actually afford to be able to have it, right? So I own a couple of sailboats in the Caribbean, and I'm the one that charters them part of the time and kind of manages crew and so on and so forth. And you know, that's a passion play. And if I wasn't passionate about that, then it wouldn't make any logical sense because it doesn't really make any money. Pays the bills, right? But it's not profitable above and beyond that. Or like I love skiing, so. You know, and I knew I wanted a really cool house to have for a ski house. And I realized that I couldn't afford or didn't want to spend what it would cost to have the type of ski house that I wanted in the place that I wanted it. So I developed it myself. And I built two, and I sold one, and the sale of the one offset a lion's share of the cost of the other. And then now I short-term rent it, and it pays the bills for it. So I don't have to pay for my ski house. Right? Does that make sense?
Nicely done. Yeah.
And then I have lessons. You know, I did the codependent, and that's been a fun, profitable pursuit. And thought when I bought the ground floor of 44 East Ave that, you know, I bought that with the intention of doing another codependent. But then I had the opportunity to work with somebody that was a very, very talented chef. And we decided to put all of my financial backing and support on creating a really high-end Mexican restaurant. And I put that in the lesson category. And that was a very expensive lesson. I invested millions and millions and millions of dollars of my hard-earned money and have only seen a loss on it, right? So I realized that I'm not invincible. And that not everything that I do turns to gold. And that I've learned that I need to, even though I do a bunch of different things, I need to focus on what I truly am passionate about, what people will pay me for, and where I have a competitive advantage.
Sweet spot.
Yeah, so I'm
You've dialed it in.
I'm now reminding myself the lessons that I've given others, I need to give to myself periodically.
Yes. I feel like the whole world is a great mirror, right? It's anytime you look at something and it's like, what can I learn from this?
You got to remind yourself that the advice you're giving to others, sometimes you need to give to yourself. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's a little background, a little history on kind of where I got where I am. And in the meantime, I had two beautiful daughters. They're 18 and 19. One is, I love the fact that both of them are pursuing their passions. You know, and luckily I've had enough success in life where I can help support them in their pursuit of their passions. Because one is living in LA, pursuing
How is she
her
doing with the
acting career.
fires? Is she all right with?
Well, she came back for the holidays. We went to New Zealand as an extended family. And so she was still in Austin when the fires broke out.
Okay.
And she was going to fly back like the day after the fire started. I'm like, that's not a smart idea. Just the air quality is no good. So she stayed home for an extra week.
Yeah.
But she's back and she's doing fine. And she actually just signed with a talent agency. So she's really excited about that.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yep. And then my other daughter graduated from high school a semester early. And she's working at the stable where she rides. She is a competitive equestrian jumper.
Nice.
Definitely her passion. And definitely a sport that I have to continue to work very hard at to ensure that she gets to continue to pursue that. But she has the intent of she wants to either go to Boulder or UT this fall. So we'll see. Still waiting on responses back from the schools.
That's exciting.
And I think she's finally learned the lesson that if she wants to continue to ride, that she's going to get the opportunity to find a passion in business that will help support her riding.
More well-rounded, right?
Yes. So yeah, she wants to. She's actually excited about getting into the real estate business once she graduates, and then of course I've been pushing her to go ahead and get a real estate license now, and to sell real estate while she's at school.
My son George did that while he was at school.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was renting houses, and
sure.
he George is so good with people, and he's always been, very much like yourself. I remember one day he was out. He goes, I'm going to sell some rocks. I said, okay. I said, do me a favor, sell them out. I was going through my divorce, and I was living in the condos over in Westlake. I call it Divorce Hill, where everybody moves to so they can be close to their houses. And so I said, just sit on the rock out there and sell your rocks. And I'm inside cooking, and then when I'm done with dinner, we can all get together. Right. So I remember my daughter chuckling. She was on the couch with the remote control. I'm going to go sell rocks. And I didn't know it. And he comes in, 10 minutes later, he's like, I made $40. I'm like, you sold $40 worth of rocks out there? And he's like, yeah. I said, okay, well, shut it down. We're ready for dinner. Right. And, but that, George is that kind of, reminds me a lot of yourself when you were younger. And, just the gift of gab, and just very curious, and sure. and chatting with people. And, we were going to F1 the first year that was here. Right. And I didn't have a parking pass, so it was set up in such a way, I don't know if you remember, they had buses downtown. They were going to bus people out. It was a complete train wreck. And so George starts chatting with the people online next to us, and he's, Dad, do you want some parking passes? This guy here is going to take the helicopter out, and he's got it's got passes for us. I said, okay, there we go.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's good to be curious.
Absolutely.
And good to have the gift of gab and get out there talking to people. I particularly love in your story the watercolors that you're doing. I see your creative side and the landscape design, and you're good with people. And it's been an absolute pleasure sitting here talking to you all about this stuff. Tell us, what can we expect to see in downtown Austin in the next 5 years, other than your new building? What are you excited about that's going on?
So I'm excited. There's millions of square feet of vacant office space. We have a 22% vacancy rate.
How do we get people downtown, get back in the offices?
They're coming. There's a paradigm shift in employers' expectations of employees.
I think it's so important, and because you can collaborate with people, you can have community, you can support the delis and the offices and the bars and the.
I just don't know how a business runs a business without having people in the office collaborating with each other. We shut down our offices for 45 days during COVID. Mm-hmm. 45, from mid-March to early May. And then we've been back open the entire time. Mm-hmm. And my team loves being in the office together. They like each other. It's their family.
Oh, God.
Right? And so I feel like there are a lot of this younger generation that's quasi-lost because they haven't had that secondary safety net of their business friends. Mm-hmm. Right? And I believe that as one of my friends put it, the tech bros are back in business. Mm-hmm. with our, in theory, with the support of our federal government, and I think they're going to start hiring again. Yep. I think a lot of the big tech companies were afraid of being broken up or being suppressed based upon
the past administration.
And so I think they're going to grow again.
Good.
Well, and now Austin actually has the office space for them.
Yeah.
And when the office buildings that have been built or are in the process of being complete get filled up, the energy that you're going to feel in downtown Austin is going to be absolutely out of this world.
I mean, that is going.
It's gonna create a thriving restaurant. Like if you're not the best restaurant, you're going out of business right now, right? So it'll support more restaurants, it'll support more bars, it'll support more retail, more people on the street. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of additional vibrancy. As far as what's to come, because of the financing conditions over the course of the past couple of years, because there's no new office buildings that are going to be built for the foreseeable future. And because of the cap rates on multifamily right now, it's going to be a while before we see any more multifamily projects or see any more office projects. But I think we're going to see some more hotel because of the redevelopment of the convention center. I think we'll probably see some more condo projects. And we will see more multifamily in the future. We just have to digest what we've put on the ground over the course of the past couple of years.
Well, we get those people in the offices. That's going to bode well
I mean,
for anything.
That's the big one. We got to people need to come back to the office, and when they're in the office, productivity increases, and when productivity increases, it benefits all.
Yeah, I mean, I lived and worked in New York City in my 20s and early 30s, and it was, you went from college where you had your college buddies that you hung out with to the people that you work with, like you were just talking about. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun going out for drinks after work on any given night, and going out for dinner, and the stories that people would come back with the next day. And
you get challenged when you hear your peers are succeeding and winning those deals or solving the complex problems. You want to do more yourself.
Hell yeah.
Right. And I think that's been a problem with our society over the course of the past few years is the bare minimal is what's being done by so many people.
Yeah.
However, there have been a handful of people that don't accept that, right? And those are the people that have been thriving, right? And I feel like Urbanspace's success is, the people that are part of my organization are passionate about what they do, and they're thriving. They've been thriving, and it's fun, and we make shit happen because we love what we do.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Kevin, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You have a great day.
You too.
Appreciate
Enjoyed it.
We're out.